Hey, legends, welcome back to the Mason Cox Show. Big episode today. We're going to talk about that Port Adelaide win over Sydney. That was a big W for them. We're going to talk about the Collingwood versus Carlton game. Also, I donated to the IFL's Christmas fund. Yes, I got fined over the weekend, and I'm going to talk about that and much, much more of what actually happened. Anyway, that's all starting in this podcast right now. All right, like we mentioned off the top, big podcast today, but we'll start off as we always do. Brayden, welcome.
G'day, Mason. I've got some good clangers this week. There was actually too many to fit in the segment, but I did see one on social media, which was a good reminder to everyone not to go the early crow. We've all had mates that have celebrated too early, or for example, yesterday I went down to the Freo game with my housemate, a diehard Freo supporter, and that ended in tragedy for him. So
that's rough.
This was a good example of what not to do. And I don't know if you've seen this, but a couple of Carlton fans sitting in the crowd, they were sitting side on to the McGovern shot after the siren.
Yeah. Tough angle.
Tough angle. And then you're looking for everyone around you. You're looking for cues. Does the player celebrate? Does the crowd cheer? Like what? You're looking for cues because you can't see if it's going through the middle. Anyway, they're staring around, and as soon as the crowd rises and cheers, they just think that must mean goal. It's going through the goal. So they're turning around, they're up on their seats, they're giving it the double fisters, they're giving it to everyone in the area because Carlton just got the win over the Pies. And then they turn around and realise when they look up at the big screen that it hasn't gone through, and then they flip the camera on the phone and the Pies boys are celebrating, they're giving it back to the Carlton fans. So just a nice little clanger there, and don't go the early crow. You can't celebrate too soon.
Just celebrate after 100% certainty. 110% certainty.
When it comes to that, you're in a crowd of 100,000 people, bitter rivals. You want to make sure you've got it 100% right. It reminded me of Ollie Florin kicked that one after the it was going for the win after the siren against Port. And Aliir got the double fister on the line, but he already thought that it had gone through, and he was running and celebrating and tripped over. And that's not
so bad.
It's not a good look.
It's also the whole thing of like you're in a mass amount of people, so to get out of there, you're just going to be tackled the whole way out of the stadium. You're not going to hear the end of it. I did see that. That was gold. But my clanger of the week. Now, I don't know if you saw this pre-game. There was this moment, right? Beautiful moment. Scott's 400. The family's out there. He's trying to get Darcy, his little girl, to go with him. She doesn't, but Jax does, and they run through the banner. It's a lovely moment. He gives the ball to Jax and he goes, "Jax, kick a goal, kick a goal." And Jax goes out and he just wheels back and just boots this one. It goes straight towards the goals, except for Jack Christ's head was in the way. And he's about giving him an HIA before we even started the match. And the best thing was like, it was kind of in front of everyone, so like the whole team saw it. And Jack's just absolutely pelted Crispy in the head before the game. And it was a good laugh going into the very beginning. But it was... Crispy was just like kind of blown away, like thinking it was a player that kicked it. Like, who the hell? He turns around to Jax. It's like, well, I can't really be mad at a child.
The one you can't put on blast. Scott Pendlebury's son. It's like, good kick, mate.
Try again. Try again, actually. I'll stand the mark.
I did like that, though. Crispy put up the next day that he had a black eye. And it's like, oh, God. Was that? Because I saw it at the time. And, like, Pendles was just, I didn't see it hit Crispy, but Pendles was laughing and then giving the ball back to Jax to be like, have another one.
God, I almost fell on the floor. I was pissing myself. It was so funny. But that's my clanger of the week.
It's good right down near the cheer squad too. So would have had some good feedback, a couple of laughs. We'll get into the results because it was a big weekend, and every weekend from now until the end is so close because teams that need to win keep falling over. Western Bulldogs aren't, though. They beat Melbourne. Melbourne, I think you just put the cue on the rack at this stage. Like, you're a couple games out. Gorn's got clear, ankle injuries.
Still killing it, though.
Yeah, still killing it.
One-legged.
He had 44, 45 hit-outs on one leg on the weekend.
It's insane.
It's wild.
Freak.
West Coast got the job done over the Gold Coast, boys. I think, was that your lock again for the week? Jesus, you're on a...
I'm killing it. I voted against I locked against my own team this week, and I was proven right. So
rough one. North Melbourne got the chocolates over Richmond. Now, that could be problematic as we look to the spoon.
The Harley
Geelong got the win in a very narrow one against Adelaide, who fought all the way to the end and
insane.
It went down to like the last 20 seconds. They still could have won it. Then we got Collingwood, big win over Carlton. Slowed down at the end, just cruised to the line. Easy win, that one. Port, 148 to Sydney's 36, and I think that's flattering to Sydney. Sydney did not score a goal until the 23rd minute mark of the second quarter. So
yeah, it was grim.
Wow, and they're still half a game clear on top of the ladder after losing a heap of games. So we'll dissect that one. GWS in a nail-biter against Hawthorn, coming back late. Another great game. Essendon, talk about comebacks on the Saturday. Got the last-minute win against Freo. And St Kilda just, they had their big win last week, so they just packed it up for this Brisbane game, and they're looking scary at the moment. So we'll have to jump into these big news stories. And I just want to put it to you because we talked about this all last season on the podcast.
Yeah.
North getting that feel-good win at the end of the season cost them Harley Reid. And as we know, Harley Reid is a great player. I haven't heard much about the draft this year.
I actually haven't. I was just going to say this. I don't know who the number one pick's going to be. It's not as clear-cut as last year,
Not
I feel
to
like.
the point. This stage last year, we knew about Harley Reid and we knew how good he was. So this year, it might be worth getting off the bottom of the ladder, but North won a game against Richmond, puts them above Richmond by a game, and now they're coming up against, I think, West Coast this week. So they got another chance to win another game, potentially go back-to-back wins.
Yeah.
But it's back-to-back years where they may have cost themselves the number one draft pick.
It is an interesting thing. You always play to win, right? At the end of the day, that's the statement, right? You always play to win. I will say it is interesting. I think we mentioned this as we think that Richmond, out of all the three teams that are on the bottom of the ladder, they need the number one draft pick the most out of the three. I think like North Melbourne's pretty well set up with some people and in certain situations and now getting games into them. I think they're going to be a threat in the future. But yeah, like you look at that game and I think everyone's saying, okay, well this is the number one draft game. Okay, whoever essentially loses this, then there's a high probability they're going to have the first pick. It does, I still think there should be some kind of lottery, though, of like, if you end up being last on the ladder, it doesn't guarantee you the first pick, but it gives you the highest percentage of winning the lottery to then get the first pick.
Yeah.
So then if you do throw a game, there's still technically a chance you may not get the first pick, or like if you end up at the bottom of the ladder, there's still a probability that you may not get the first pick. So I love that situation. But yeah, this North game, obviously now Richmond's pretty much locked in, I think, the first number one draft pick. And as we mentioned, after the year they've had quite a few injuries and stuff throughout the year, but I think it'll be a good little confidence booster for them to have that. Yeah.
They do need it, and I think there could be a bit of an exodus of players at the end of the year that they just try to pick up as many draft picks as they can and kind of start fresh. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with their trades. What else have we got here? Did you just see Zane Dersma's mark on the weekend?
Jeez, always absolutely launched into the air.
Well,
it was
everyone
good.
is talking about
good. It was the best mark of the round, surely.
Yeah, best mark of the round.
Question that.
There was Radaglia had a nice little mark.
He did.
But it was definitely the best mark of the round. But people always, their first thing is to compare it to the other best marks
of the year,
which are obviously Jamie Elliott's and Bobby Hill's marks.
Yeah.
Does he have either of them covered?
No. I mean, I'm a little bit biased, you could possibly say, yes, but Bobby's just clean, landed clean, kicks the goal in front, leg each shoulder. Just what an iconic spec he is. Jamie's also very, very good and also gets over the person. So like even kind of higher, you can almost say, where Bobby kind of uses him to lift off him.
Taller player.
Yeah, taller player, a key back. So, I mean, I still don't know really between Jamie and Bobby who's better. We'll let the deciders of the fans figure that out, I think, whenever it comes down to the end of the year. But I don't think this one was better than either one of those. It was good. Don't get me wrong. It was good.
It was good.
But, gosh, the other two, it's just tough to look past.
Yeah, I think a bit more of a hang. That's what I like. That's why I've got Bobby's first, because it was like he rode the first bloke in to the second bloke and then got the pop.
Just levitated.
And it was the first mark that I've ever seen where the bloke lands on his feet, but it looks cool. Like he kind of like strutted off after he took the mark. Like it's what
so
I do.
casual about it.
Because I think like Ashley Sampi lands on his feet. That's probably the highest that I've seen. And then someone lands on their feet. But even that, I remember that back at the time. Everyone's like, oh, if he had landed on his spine and folded up, it would have been so much cooler. It's weird how sadistic we are.
We are terrible. We're like gladiators, just watching people just try to kill each other.
Should have landed on his neck. That would have been way better.
Alex Fasola did that back in the day.
That was scary. Mate. Landed on his head.
Oh, that got me cringing.
Oh, I forgot about that.
All right, let's go to the next one. What do we got?
I want to know, does Ken Hinkley re-sign with Port now?
Rhetorical question, man. Sign him. Sign him for as long of a contract as you can. We are big Ken Hinkley fans on this podcast. And like, win over Sydney over the weekend, you could say was a big win for the club, you know? And maybe this is a good time to extend someone's contract. So it's kind of interesting. You're going into, 3 games left in the season, a massive win over the people who are on the top of the ladder. If you had kind of already penciled this in as something to do in your time, you know, as coach for the year, you would think it'd be now. Yeah. You would think that Port Adelaide would be coming out this week and saying, look, we just signed Ken to X amount of years for a deal after what they performed on the weekend. You want to ride the high, right? You don't want to sit there and be like, oh, we signed Ken, you know, and they lost this weekend. So, no, you don't do that. Like, you do it whenever you have a big win. So you think if it's already in the heads of Port Adelaide that they want to sign him again, they'd be coming out with it this week.
That is very true. If you were going to do it and you were planning on doing it, you should do it this week. I think in the minds of every fan, so I would have to think in some minds of people at the club, the fact that he hasn't gone through to the grand final or like had any like silverware success at the club, that's just an unknown, because they've done this before where they've signed him off the back of a great like season. They get to the finals and they go out in straight sets, or they have a real unlucky loss. They've had a lot of, I was looking back earlier in the season when they wanted to sack Ken Hinkley, and they've had some really unfortunate losses. There was like the one where Luke Shuey did the shoulder up dive and he kicked it after the siren for the win. And like they've had a really rough run. Or like they've come up against Hawthorn dynasty team and lost that way and stuff. Like losing in finals isn't as black and white as like looking at you go back, look at the stats sheet and go, oh, we lost. It's like you get caught on the wrong end of like a 3-peat Hawthorn or like, no shit, a lot of people lost in finals to them. Like
everyone lost in finals to the Hawthorn team.
And they probably should have beaten them in one of the ones at the G, which is crazy to think. So I hope Kenny just gets in there, performs well in finals. I don't know what that looks like. Yeah. If they make top 2 and get a home final, you kind of need to go like home final, grand final. In everyone's head. I
think it's a little bit though, is like how ruthless their fans are and how much expectation they have.
I was reading stuff.
I think that's like one of the reasons that like we always have, or the media always talks about Ken Hinkley's contract, is because their fans are so passionate about like whether their team wins or loses, and they look at like if you don't win the whole thing, it's an unsuccessful year. Yeah, and that's like their mindset. I feel like every year. It's not. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like you want to win the thing every single year, but like you have to realize that there's 10 teams that are not even making finals every single year, and this guy is getting you in those top 8 teams every single year. Like. It's hard enough to get into that, much less win the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like if your only chance at happiness is winning a flag, like have that as everyone wants to win a flag. That's the ultimate. But if you're making finals, you're seeing more wins than losses every year. Mm-hmm. And it's a 6-month journey of happiness. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's so many other teams. Like think of North. You're like, they haven't won. They've been winning 5 games a year for the past 5 years. Like that's rough. You want to talk about rough? That's rough. Yeah. So I don't know. I would like to see him signed, but I just think there's so much pressure. They're going to wait it out to see how the finals pan out. But I did want to ask, because Port is on such a hot streak at the moment, and nothing bigger than on the weekend. Absolutely demolishing the team on top of the ladder. But I just wanted to know, in the lead up, like how important is a massive win like this, going into finals, having that finals form, like
Did you have that in the lead up last year where you had a big win, or were you all tight all the way through? And then what does that do to the mentality that you can like beat the best in the league? Yeah,
I think it's like whenever you play some of the better teams, like we talk about, you want momentum as much as possible going into finals, and a big scalp over a team that's at the top of the ladder is kind of like proof in the pudding and confidence that we can keep up and beat the best teams that are out there. And you sit there and you go, okay, well, if they're the best team on the ladder right now, like, technically we're beating the team that's predicted to be the grand final winner. So I think more than anything, it's a confidence booster to say, you know what, we believe in our system so much that we're going to win games, that there's no one else that can stop us as long as we play our way and play the way we want to play. I think that's the biggest thing. And like for them going into finals, that is a major confidence booster, especially with the scoreline that happened. For them to be going, okay, like who's going to stop us? Yeah. And how the hell are they going to do it, right? And I look at it and I'm like, man, they're probably 5-6 weeks ago, people were questioning whether they're going to make the 8. And it's like then Western Bulldogs, these teams have got a bit of momentum right now. People were going, well, who's going to beat them?
Yeah.
So it's kind of this whole, flip of the coin now. You got Brisbane in there too, who's won quite a few in a row now, of teams that were looked at as like, oh, no chance. And then now, at the right time, they're getting the right form, and people are starting to go, well, they're probably one of the best chances to win the whole thing.
Yeah, and then on the flip side of the coin, what's it like coming up against a team that is on like a crazy good roll, like coming up against Brisbane, who's 9 in a row?
Yeah,
I guess it depends where you are on the ladder as well, because if it's like North coming up against Brisbane, that's won 9 in a row. You're like, God, we've had some down weeks or whatever, but like. There'd be a part where you want to accept a challenge. There'd be a part, like I imagine, that you'd focus like crazy throughout the week to make sure everything's absolutely right.
Yeah, you always love ruining someone else's party.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like something I've always enjoyed. But I mean, you play up against those teams. You want to beat the best of the teams, best teams in the league. But also there's little like wins within and little competitions within games, whether it be like playing on Harris Andrews, who's one of the best defenders in the league, and seeing how you can do against him, or playing in the ruck versus Oscar McInerney, who's one of the best ruckmen. There's like little, competitions within competitions to like test yourself against the best out there. And every time you do that, I feel like you kind of pick little things up of like, okay, like I'm still bettering my game every time I play against these people. So there's that too, I think. And yeah, you want to, you play this game to try to be the best, right? And to be the best, you have to beat the best. And I think that's one of the biggest things whenever you play the teams that are going well and are in a hot streak and stuff like that. It's like, all right, like let's test our game plan against someone who's, in hot form right now.
Yeah. I do always like seeing like Pendles and Cripps line up on each other.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's fun. I just wanted to bring up this new segment that I was thinking about. You let me know if we could keep this or if this is, I don't know.
Is this going to get me in trouble?
This is a nice little segment.
Oh,
this week in players playing on after it looked like they were unconscious. Because
what a name for a segment.
We can workshop the name because I reckon it could be a little shorter. But it's something that happens every week. So we get the big marks. You get the mark of the year, or we get the big goals. You get the goal of the year. Maybe it's like unconscious player of the week or something. But I've got another contender for you because we've had a fair few, and this week's is Ben King, because there was a moment in the game where he went into a contest, got headbutted in the face pretty severely, and it looked like he was knocked unconscious. So that's the name. I don't know if you can. There's a correlation. Anyway, so he went down. He stayed down for ages. A teammate came up and immediately started waving for the doctors to come over. He wasn't moving this whole time.
Fact.
6 people came out and, braced his body and held his neck in position because they saw fit that it was a pretty bad situation for him.
Yeah.
All this time, he still hadn't moved. Actually, they cut to a side shot and he had his eyes closed at this point in time. And he was kind of saying stuff and it didn't look great. He was on the ground for a lengthy period of time.
Yeah.
And it'd take 2 doctors to help him back up to his feet. He's a heavy unit. And he's got blood streaming from his nose.
Yeah.
And he's feeling for loose teeth because he got
never a good feeling.
Headbutted in the face so bloody hard.
That's why you wear a mouth guard, people.
Anyway, they help him off the ground. And then at this point in time, I'm like, oh, well, he's out for the game. Like a safe assumption when someone has been down for an extended period of time, multiple doctors come out, you're bracing his neck, he's bleeding from the nose, he's feeling for his teeth.
All signs.
Well, he passes his HIA, he comes straight back out. I don't get it, Mace. But there is a weird correlation, and I'm not saying these things are all aligning. It's just funny that it's been Jeremy Cameron in a tight game where they needed to win, not saying anything, not suggesting anything. Harris Andrews, Brisbane fined for an incident where he got told to come from the ground, didn't. It took pretty much a quarter for him to get off the ground. He passed his HIA after that, and then he got concussed in another incident later in the final quarter. So he got concussed. And then Harry Mackay didn't come straight off, passed his HIA, went out there, and then had delayed illness. He had illness, and then he missed. And now we're just waiting on Ben King to see if he has any delayed symptoms in the space. But that's just a nice one because there'll be one each week, and we can call it out and we'd talk about it.
You're the concussion police? Is that what you're doing now?
Well, I think it's probably pretty important. In 20 years, though, people will look back at me as a bit of a trailblazer in the field. Me and Kingy, I know that he stands up for. I don't know if I really want to be linked with him, but we got to see something, say something. They say, and I see a lot of unconscious people coming back out onto the field. So see something, say, put your hand up. Maybe he shouldn't come back out, but. I don't know. We'll see if there's another one next week, and we'll see if Ben King gets delayed concussion symptoms, and then
maybe the AFL is going to hire you to be the eyes in the sky.
Oh my goodness, someone's got to be because fucking blind Freddie's doing it at the moment. We move on to the big winners.
I did not endorse that last comment.
We're moving on to the big winners because Port Adelaide, we've already had a bit of a discussion about them, but there's some good stats. So they kept, obviously, Sydney goalless till the 23-minute mark of the second quarter. 112-point winners, Mace, if you don't mind. And they had a couple of good players out there on the day, surprisingly. Actually, no surprises who they were. Zach Butters, 30 touches, 2 goal assists. Rosie, 27 and a goal. And then their forward line.
Any fines for Butters?
No fines this week.
Ooh, clean.
Well, you don't have to. You're punching them up on the scoreboard. You don't have to punch them up out on the field. But you got Rioli got 4, Georgiades got 4, Dixon got 3. So when Fords are getting those numbers, you know it's not good.
That's a chance you're probably going to win that game, I'd say.
Oh my goodness!
I think that was one of obviously the biggest wins over the weekend.
Yes, well, literally and.
A statement game. Yeah. Like a huge statement game for Port Adelaide. Swans, we play them next week, so I'm not going to say too much. But, this was a shock, to be honest. I think this game was playing out whenever we had just kind of finished. And, someone said that they hadn't scored in, like a quarter and a half, and it was like 70-something to 0. And I was like, I looked at the person that told me, I was like, okay, seriously, what's the score? Yeah. And they were like, no, it's like, that's actually it. And I was like, holy smokes. I couldn't believe it.
It was wild.
It was insane.
When they got the little ticker in the bottom corner of Fox Footy, and I was just like, it just kept ticking over. I was like, it looked like when I was putting fuel in the car. Like it just kept. I was like, what's happening down there?
Why is it costing so much? Interesting. But it was an interesting game, and credit to Port Adelaide for the big win.
It's good to see them out there doing good things. A lot of interstate teams, we know. This is why the AFL is getting more fine money than ever because they're getting all these interstate teams in the top 8 and they know they're not going to be able to cash in come finals.
Oh, we're going to talk about fines here in a bit, Brayden. Don't you worry about that. Your boy's got a little bit of cash to pay to the AFL's Christmas party.
We've got GWS. That's another massive win because it was a real come-from-behind job. They kicked 7 goals, 1 in the last quarter to win it by a kick. Which Hawthorn only managed to kick the 2 goals, 1. They were up by about 5 goals heading into the last, which is insane that so many comebacks this week. So lucky you guys held on. But they've won 5 in a row, and that one puts them back in the top 4. How scary did GWS look at the moment?
Your team, they're coming home strong. They're coming home strong, man. You're questioning halfway through. They were like, it's credit to them. It was Hawthorn seemed to they kind of had it like, they're a decent amount of had it in the bag, and then credit to GWS, they came home strong, and it's a big win for them. Getting into the top 4 there. You obviously want to have that double chance. So I feel like every single game you talk about the teams trying to make the 8, but there's also those teams trying to make the top 4. And then obviously score differential kind of plays within that too. And GWS, that double chance is a massive, massive advantage. So, yeah, credit to them getting the win over Hawthorn, who's now, like, Hawthorn's one of those teams that's falling into trying to find the 8. So it's a big scalp for them. And, it's important for them, I think, for their finals chances.
And Jesse Hogan, man, that guy can take some one-on-one marks. And
he's just stay out of the way of other people trying to kick goals, Last week he got pelted in the head by one of his own teammates.
Jeez, well, he's just a ball magnet at the moment because he just keeps finding him. But it's amazing. Just another one of those Hall of Famers that smokes darts. See, we got to.
Sorry, what?
We're talking about kids. Don't listen to this part, but we have Max Gawn out there, one of the best players ever in the ruck, and he's an ex dart smoker. Then we got Jesse Hogan, dart smoker, and he's kicking darts at the moment. We need more data on it. I'm not saying start, Mace, but you might want to have a look at a pack. We go down and have a look at Adam Treloar.
I don't know how you got to that, brother, but
it just popped into my head.
You'd be just pulled e-cigs out of your ass for soon. Move on to the next segment. What we got? Adzi.
Adam Treloar, 250th game. He had 30 disposals, kicked 2 goals, 6 clearances, 11 score involvements. He is playing.
Game, you'd say.
Incredible footy. He's got to be an All-Australian. He's at least got to make the squad. I don't know who beats him, but if he's not in the big squad, what are they doing? But there was an amazing moment between himself, Kimmy Rav was there, his partner, and then his other partner, his partner in crime, Josh Dunkley, and his daughter Georgie up in the stands, and Ads gave him the love heart, and it was a very nice moment.
It is very cute. He's a very much a family man. Loves his family, and he's an incredible person. Like, I've always had massive love for him, and sent him a message, during that 250th game, and to play big, play very well in a big time moment for your career and yourself is always cool to see. And they had a big win over the weekend, and to kick a goal in that kind of milestone game too, and show love to the family, I know that would have meant a lot to him. So, it's a credit to him. I love good people having good things happen to him. And I think over the weekend, that was one thing, 250th game, obviously a massive accomplishment, but just the laudits of him being able to play well within that and be able to celebrate it with his teammates and his family was a feel-good moment, It was a feel-good moment over the weekend.
Well, it's one of those ones, like throughout his career, he's had a few injuries, but as soon as he does, and I know it's annoyed him at stages where people like write him off when he's done a hamstring or whatever, and the way that he's playing footy at the moment, 250, 300's not out of reach. And to play that across 3 different clubs is quite amazing. I can't think of a player that's played to the level that he has over 3. Yeah, it's crazy.
He's one of the OGs up there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Far out.
Yeah. So, to start, he was like in the original, like part of the original team.
Yeah.
Now 3 clubs later. It's pretty crazy to think.
Man, some of those stories from the early days of GWS.
They used to train at like a public gym with like other people, like just
wild.
Like just some fitness gym.
Like all like 18-year-olds essentially too. Can you imagine? Can you imagine just like a bunch of 18-year-olds just starting up an AFL club?
Oh, well, that's like Gold
and just
Coast.
Being in Sydney where like no one bothers you.
Gold Coast, they were 18 years old and they were training out of a shipping container. Imagine starting your AFL experience in a shipping container. You'd be like, I thought
you would have showed me that when I first came over here. Be like, here's our facilities. And it's a shipping container. Be like, you can get stuffed, man. I'm going back to America.
I did want to ask you this because you did bring up that you sent Adzi a text over the weekend. Max Gawn on Triple M said that you sent him a text message saying, welcome to prelim folklore when he kicked 5 goals in the prelim final in 2001. Is that true?
I don't have his phone number. It was a tweet. I think it was a tweet. Whenever he said it, I was like, Max, no, I'm happy to have you on the podcast. We would love to chat to you, mate. Don't get me wrong. But no, I didn't text him. I think I tweeted it out. I don't know. We have to go check the Xverse or Twitterverse or whatever it is. But I tweeted it was a bit of a joke. So I was like, I just love the big fellas, the big ruckmen just dominating in big games. Like, I don't know. Obviously, I'm going to have a bit of a soft spot for ruckman. And it was great to see him just, play a big game in a big moment.
That It was good that it
got into the grand final. And they won it.
Good that it got brought back up because I feel like some of that stuff that was COVID times just got glossed over. And it's
I think everyone was in some real dark areas during that time. They were all trying to forget those 2 or 3 years even existed.
That was wild. He kicked one on the run from like outside 50.
How good.
And that was like, what are you?
Put him in the goal square, baby.
Who is this guy?
Not the center square, the goal square.
Anyway, we're talking about goal kickers.
Doesn't make sense, does it? Is a rectangle or square? A square rectangle
just doesn't roll off the tongue. Jeremy Cameron, just another one we'll give a bit of love to. 6 goals, 17 disposals, 9 score involvements, 8 marks, and he won the game off his own boot because in the dying minutes he went on an absolute gut-busting run and took a mark in front of a pack that only he could take, went back, slotted the snap, and celebrated hard. He said...
Very good celebrator.
Yeah, there was a few expletives in there. I'm not one for reading lips, but I could read what he was saying. But just, we've sung his praises for years now.
Yeah.
But he just does stuff that other people can't do.
And I love the fact that Geelong just kind of like lets him go.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he does not have any structure to his game whatsoever. He's like, I see ball, I go get ball. And it's like, go wherever you want, wherever you think you're going to kick a goal, you just be there.
It's like good luck going with him too, because he's like 6 foot whatever. He can run.
I'd love to know his GPS.
Can mark, he can kick.
You just see him in the forward line, then he's in the back line. You're like, does he actually have a legit position on the field?
He's an amazing field kick. His field kicking's like incredible. But yeah, just another shout out to him because they definitely wouldn't have won that game if it wasn't for Jeremy Cameron on the weekend. A couple of special shout outs. Brisbane, 9 wins in a row, but they beat Saints, but they've beaten every, major team in the top 8. Western Bulldogs just keep winning.
Yeah.
And obviously got the win over Melbourne. Essendon. They got the win. They did it the hardest way possible. Like I said, I was there and they were terrible for 3 quarters.
Fans? The fans lose their absolute minds.
You know what this is? Did
they leave early? Don't tell me they
we were
left
talking
early.
about this last week. Is like they go to games, they stick it out, but they just seem defeated rolling up. Like no one was hyped. Every goal they were like every goal in the first 3 quarters, they were like, oh yeah, cool. Like watch us stuff this up or whatever.
Oh my god.
Freo was louder, and I was like, oh, this going into the last quarter when Freo was up by like their 5 goals or whatever. I was like, oh, Essendon's not going to fire a shot. Like, this is just another one like last week. And then out of nowhere, they kicked a goal, then kicked another one. And the crowd just woke up. Like, they were just asleep. They weren't even complaining about free kicks or holding the balls or anything. They were just quiet. And then out of nowhere, they just blew the lid off the joint. I was like, okay, they're here.
They're here.
And then they just got all this momentum off the back of it. And I'm like, well, if you just cheered them... But it's like, I get why they're scarred.
They're very scarred.
But like, if they just got right behind them, like I feel like they need to be as irrational as Carlton fans. Like Carlton fans think they could go out on the weekend and beat prime Real Madrid or something. Like they think they can beat anyone, anywhere, anytime. And I don't know where they get that belief because they haven't done that forever. So like, they need that belief. They need that level of delusional belief that Carlton has, and that'll get them some more wins. Like you look when Carlton had that in the finals last year. Scary to come up against them.
Yeah, for sure. They were definitely a force of finals.
Yeah.
Luckily, Brisbane got over the top there.
Had to get a stop somewhere in there. Let's talk about the big losers. We got Sydney on top of the ladder. It's hard to believe they're big losers, but
It's hard to believe they're within striking distance of losing the top spot.
They could get knocked off the top of the ladder this round, which is...
It's crazy, eh?
It's actually crazy that they've lost 5 of their last 6 and are still on the top. Like, it just showed how far out in front they were. They got their wins early. It's the biggest loss for Johnny Longmire. He doesn't know what to do. Biggest loss by an eventual premier ever is 100 points back in 1945.
It's a tough year.
And that was Carlton. So Carlton back in 1945 lost a game by 100, went on to win the flag. So they're going to have to break that record to go on and win this flag this year.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. Interesting. I'm just more impressed that you pulled that stat out of your ass. I'm like,
it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. That eventual premier has like a massive flogging.
But this is the thing, right? Like he can sit there and he can like Sydney's gonna make top 4. I think we can all pretty much guarantee that. Ish. Yeah. I think I haven't looked at the score or the numbers yet. Like that's a.
Well, it's so close. You think 2 rounds ago Carlton was 2nd. Now they're 8th.
Yeah. But I think like the top 4 are pretty, I don't know. But anyway, Sydney, they've lost 5 of the last 6. But I think everyone that goes up against them knows how good Sydney can be. Therefore, if you drop your standards by even a little bit, you know that you're going to get smacked by them.
Yeah.
I think everyone knows because they've seen how good Sydney's been all year, that Sydney at their best can beat anyone.
Yeah. It's that same feeling that last year, everyone was like, we need to get Collingwood. Collingwood just kept getting over the line. There was moments later in the year where you had a couple of losses leading into finals. Everyone threw it out the window. Collingwood are no good. They're not going to do anything. I feel like if anything we've learnt this year, and we're being patient, is that every big call that anyone's made this year, you just look like a goose. Every big call. Everyone.
Making finals? Or?
Well, Bevo's sacked. Now he's got the hottest team in the comp. Yep, Hinkley was sacked. He's got the hottest team in the comp. GWS, they lost their way.
Brisbane at the beginning.
Brisbane, they're done. Sack Fagan. Yeah. Sack Fagan off the back of a grand final and 5 years of success after taking him off the crap heap. And we're sacking Fagan. The nicest guy on the planet.
Seriously, the nicest guy you ever met.
In the first half of the season, I think we all need to take breaths because we've tried it at times to have a couple of little hot statements, but it doesn't work. So let's just chill out a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
On Sydney especially because I feel like they can definitely still do some damage. They only had a couple of injuries. It's not like they lost them all, but we'll wait to see how that all plays out. Because it's going to be an interesting one, and obviously we know who they got this week. All right, now moving on to Carlton, because obviously they lost to Collingwood on the weekend. 4 out of the last 5 they've lost, which is a bit concerning. Mm-hmm. More concerning, the one was North, so that's not a big scalp. And then more concerning than that, the 4 that they've lost to have all been kind of in and around finals with GWS, Port, the Bulldogs, the hot teams. They all went down to those, and then Collingwood are on the precipice of doing something amazing, hopefully, and making finals. So that's, a few worrying signs. They're still getting scored against heavily. They're a great team for scores for, not so much scores against.
Yeah.
For me, they're one crack away from, heaven forbid, Wiedering goes down or something.
Wiedering's their...
Oh, my goodness.
He's their best player.
If they didn't have him...
Cripps and him, man. Don't get me wrong. You got, obviously, the 2 forwards up top too, but, Wiedering is such a good
late
player.
in the game were impossible to get past. Couldn't get it past them, so they kept pumping it back in. But they're just equally as important to each other. But, I don't know how they can stand up through I said it last week, but, finals gets more defensive. You need to be able to stop scores. And if they can do that come finals is the big question mark. Heaven forbid if they make finals, because there's still a chance they don't make finals. I don't want to.
Feb this week was saying if they lost to us, he was jumping off the bandwagon. I was like, mate, it's your team.
For those that didn't know, Fev said if they lose to Collingwood, they're done. They're not going to make finals. They'll go on. They'll get rolled by Hawthorn and whoever else somehow and get knocked out. We'll wait to see. I did want to know, because obviously you kept the key forwards to 1 goal combined, Harry and Charlie.
Yeah.
Which they've probably historically done really well against you guys in the past. Yeah. So are they too reliant on those guys moving forward, or is it still fine because if they spill it, if they drop it, it goes to their small forward?
I think they do have a bit of reliance on them kicking goals, right? You look at the games they win. Those 2 guys are probably kicking 2-3 goals apiece. But no, I think it was kind of a credit to the Darcy Moores, the Jeremy Howes, the Isaac Quiners, the Billy Framptons, that, them playing defense over the weekend to keep them to that score line. But yeah, obviously, they score really well. And then on the other side, sometimes they give up a lot of points as well. So it's kind of everything. like go hard or go home kind of thing, you know, and it's like, you know, everything or nothing. And I'm sure they're probably trying to figure out kind of what that looks like and how to fix that. But yeah, I think it's like for them to win, like the numbers would say, like they need to kick goals. And for them to do that, usually the two people they look to do that is obviously the two big forwards and Harry and Charlie. So yeah, I mean, I'll give credit to our defense over the weekend. Those are two, you know, really good forwards, some of the best in the league that I think they'll have one of them at least make the All-Australian squad. So yeah, you look at that and you go, okay, like, you know, if you're going to win games, you got to almost put the pressure on them, which is never a good feeling for them because a lot of it comes out of the midfield. And you look at the last quarter and their ability to pump the ball in and pump the ball in and pump the ball in, and they got goals out of it. If they could have done that for 4 quarters, we would have never been in that game, you know? So, yeah, it's a credit to, I think, our tolls standing up in those moments because if you looked at, like I said, the inside 50s in the last quarter were insane. Like, I feel like we didn't even get the ball past midfield.
No.
And you're sitting there and you're seeing Jeremy Howe just punch and you're seeing, you know, Darcy Moore punch one out and you're like, dude,
I think Darcy Moore had 8 spoils or something ridiculous.
It seemed just like one after another. I was just like, good Lord, let's get it out of that side. But
and they were good spoils. Those and Jeremy Howe and even Q. There was a couple.
Jeremy Howe's
got
the iconic like. Have you seen the deflation of the ball? The punch. Oh, we gotta get a little clip of this. It's like he's like punching the ball and like full spoiling, and the ball's like deflated in his hands. Essentially, it's epic. It's one of the best photos of the year, I think.
I think most fans would not be able to appreciate how the pill is hard as shit for like a normal person. That thing is hard as a rock. When you're kicking a fresh one,
the points never fun.
It's not great.
Never
so like
fun.
punching it with, I don't know.
Want to get the belly of the ball, that's for sure.
That's not great. Let's move on. We've got a couple of special mentions because Freo really fumbled the bag again. They've had a chance to really go second outright. And then you're looking at the double final in Perth. Like it's so important that they finish up there. And they've fumbled the bag twice now.
I was really gunning for them over the weekend.
Yeah.
I saw them actually. I was going for a walk in the afternoon. I saw them kind of go into their game. So Matthew Boyd one of their assistant coaches, one of the nicest guys. He was like helping them load the truck up. Yeah. I was like, y'all love whenever I see like coaches or like assistant coaches helping out. A little shout out to Matty Boyd.
They have a lot of really nice guys. Do they still have
Yeah, I'd say Freo's the nicest team in the league.
Yeah, is that good?
I don't know if that's good. But like Longy's just an absolute legend. Boyd is an absolute legend. I feel like Alex Pierce is the nicest human you'll ever meet.
He's still over there?
Yeah, he's helping out, I think. And it's just such great people. Just good humans, you know?
Stand by if that's a good thing or not. We'll just stand by on that because I don't know if you're going to be a bit of a prick to win games of footy. Melbourne, the other one. They're, like I said, cue on the rack, wrap it up. Give your boys the surgeries they need. Start that process now. Let's go forward to the next year. Do
you reckon it's after Petrarca got injured, they've kind of struggled a bit?
Yeah, I really thought that Clayton Oliver would probably stand up a bit more. Then they had Trent Rivers go into the midfield, and he's been good. But yeah, I think my logic wasn't mathing because it just means that it just means like if like people are going to put in work, like normally like a tag is like, I got to pick who I'm going towards. And now if no tracks out there, you can just like put more effort into Clary or put more effort into Rivers or whatever. So yeah, I just don't think it's been their year. They've still got some pieces. Probably got to get some trades in. Some of their kids are like coming on really well. So interesting to see. I think Hodgie said that it's the end of the Melbourne era.
Wow. Don't know about that. But that's a statement from Hodgie. It doesn't give too many statements like that.
Big statement.
But he's getting reeled into these old clickbait things, isn't he?
That's good. Let's move into the Collingwood game because Scott Pendlebury, don't know if anyone is aware of this, but he played 400 games. 400? Yeah.
How many people have done that?
5.
5 or 6, I think now.
Something. That's a real guess. I've seen him in the photos. I'm trying to close my eyes and imagine them sitting there. They were talking about it on the radio, and Kevin Bartlett, like one of his last games, he had like 40 touches and kicked 7 or something.
Just casually.
And the bloke was 40 years old. Like
real Jared Ruffhead about him. Jared Ruffhead had a bag. I think kicked a bag. I want to say on his final game. It's just like everything inside 50 kicked to him.
Calm down. Anyway, Pendles had a great game. I did want to say this off the top because I did see this. Then it just gets sadder and sadder, and I don't want to kick Essendon while they're down.
Oh, here we go.
But Pendles has been in the league for 20 years. He's won 2 flags.
Yeah.
He's won a Norm Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He's recorded over 10,000 disposals.
Yep.
He's won 5 bests and fairest
Very good.
in his time in the league.
Yep.
But he's never seen Essendon win a final.
Come on, dude. That's low-hanging fruit.
That's wild.
Come on, man.
Some of these players, Jack Ginnivan, I was having a Twitter fight last year with someone, and it was like, I don't think Jack Ginnivan was born. That's like, you got people from birth all the way up to their life as a footballer.
Man.
And they've never even seen him win. That's no wonder they're so deflated. Anyway, this is the thing about Pendles.
Dude.
I want to ask your...
You just wanted to give a drive-by on Essendon, didn't you? There was no reason for you to pull that statistic out. You were just like, oh, no, let's beat a mother down.
It's just an amazing thought. It's actually hard to fathom. I did see the thing, Footscray got their first win in 10,000 days because they are the Western Bulldogs and they played as Footscray on the weekend and they got a win as Footscray.
I did see that on the ladder. That was interesting.
Yeah. So interesting. But the Pendlebury song.
Dude, so good.
So
Loved
good.
it.
So what happened? Did he come in pre-game
so
and do that?
He came in pre-game against Fremantle whenever I got knocked out that game.
Oof.
And great memories. I do remember this part of the night though. In pre-game, he came in. It kind of went off on TikTok a bit, I think, of like this whole thing of like him kind of giving an ode to Pendlebury on his guitar. And he comes in and like Craig does some really funny stuff pre-game, right? He wore clown shoes this week. You know, he does some unique things and he juggled some lemons this week. It's very impressive, I must say.
I'm trying to figure out how that goes.
Yeah, it's big shoes to fill from Pendles, essentially what we got to. But it was, it was I don't know. It was good. It was good. I liked it. I was impressed. I just needed my shoes back after he finished. But no, he came in pregame and he like sang the song and it was just like hilarious, man. Like, and everyone got in, everyone started clapping and cheering, you know, and doing the same stuff and singing with him. And you know, Pendles, he's a humble man. Like, he doesn't want to say anything like out of line. So it's just funny to see him almost feel uncomfortable with us giving him so much praise. Yeah. It's like, kind of makes us do it more, I think, at times. Like, well, he deserves it, one. But I think it was quite funny. So he actually came back and then performed that in front of the whole stadium pregame. Yeah. And we were down in the room, so we didn't actually hear it. But he did a few changes, I think, to the song, too.
Yeah, the new lyrics for the 300 plus one at the G and all of that stuff. It was, because, I thought the first one was really cool. But can you
imagine this guy who's just put together a song, put it on TikTok. Next thing you know, you're performing to like 80, 90,000 people at the G just in the same year.
Like sometimes social media, like the tiniest amount of times can have like a really positive
It's like a Carlton's violin chick.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, she's awesome. I love that girl. She's cool. She's very good.
Carlton's done some wild shit in their pre-games before, like the hovercraft.
Oh my gosh, that's one of my favorite things I've ever seen. One day I want to get on that thing. Like, where is it? Where's it gone?
At the bottom of the Yarra. It's sank in the Yarra.
Are you serious? No.
They sank it in the Yarra.
You're kidding me.
They had to pull it out, yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know this. Can we clip that into the video?
I think Collingwood had on Vic Park, was it Collingwood Vic Park or Carlton at Icon? But they had an elephant out there running around.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, an elephant.
An elephant.
I don't even know where you get an elephant from.
There's a pig at full forward and an elephant for pregame.
Yeah. Wow.
What?
We need to bring back the extravagant.
This sport is the weirdest thing. Like, how do people describe it?
It used to be so much cooler with the weird shit they used to do.
And then being able to get in scuffles. Anyway, we'll get into that. Keep going.
Oh, when I first started in the league, they tried to bring in dancers.
What, like cheerleaders?
Yeah. Like
rugby has them.
You're like at the Big Bash. The Big Bash has the dancers on the side and stuff. And it's like, the amount of times they try to bring in crap and people are just like, we like the football. Like, we like the game. We don't need Katy Perry coming down. Bloody Katy Perry. Anyway, let's get into it.
Do you ever feel like a bag just drifting in the wind?
Oh, my God.
Actually, you know what? My phone, I think, was listening to us last week because that song came on like 3 times this week. And I was like, can you stop? I do not enjoy this. Move to the next one. Play Roar.
It's better than a new one. But I want to know a highlight from the week because there would have been so much Scott Pendlebury in your week. What was a highlight from the week?
There was a lot. It was really cool. We had like kind of a moment where we went to the theater, and credit to all the other guys. I think Kevin Bartlett was the only one that wasn't there because he had just had some kind of operation or something. But And to have the other 400 gamers come in and like show respect in that sense, that was really cool. Dustin Fletcher, who's been on this podcast, was there, so I got to say hi to him. But that was kind of a cool moment, I think, where you do realize, I guess, the connection that AFL has with some of these guys. They're kind of forever, associated with each other now, and that was really neat for them to kind of show respect and show up in that moment and do all the photos and stuff with them, because like they're not getting paid for that, like they're not getting anything extra. They're just doing it because they understand how big of a moment that was and how big of a experience it is for him to be able to reach 400 games. So that was really cool for me. And then like Pendles' family, like I think people talk about him, how he's not, like kind of soft-hearted now, and he's got his kids and his wife, and the rest of his family were there over the week, and it was just cool to see them so involved throughout the whole week. And him just, being a dad, like being like an awesome dad who's, just loves the hell out of his kids and wants to get them involved as much as possible, and, getting them inside the team song and singing it with us and stuff like that. Like that stuff's really cool. I think that's like something that you look back on, throughout your life and you say those are some of the best moments whenever you get to have the whole family there and have them involved in some of the stuff is pretty cool. Now,
old dog, new tricks.
Yeah.
Pendles pulled out the banana from deep in the pocket.
I almost lost it.
Where were you? Did you think it was going
good?
Through?
I was in the rock and I was like in the middle of the ground and I saw it come off his boot and I was like, there's a chance.
Yeah.
There's a fair chance. And it was probably like half a foot. Millimeters from actually going through.
It nicked the inside of the post and went through.
Insane.
And it was a dart. He put some speed on it.
There was no arc to it. It was just like, it was, and like he missed it, and then he kind of like smiled after it, and he turned around, and Will Hoskin-Elliott's just like laughing and pissing himself of like, if that would have gone in, this place would have just lost itself, and just you'd tear the joint down. Like it was unreal. It was a decent kick, but unfortunately it didn't go through.
It was like, in my head, I'm like, you're already thinking, okay, he's going to center it, he's going to do this and that. Like, what he's.
I do love the audacity of going the banana from the boundary on your 400. I feel like, just like if anyone could do it, we'll let you slide on that one.
Jeez, yeah. It would have been that insane. I just wonder where he's practiced that, because it's like you've never seen him pull it out in a game, really. So like.
Probably not on the run.
Yeah.
Probably one of those little cheeky set shots for a coffee at the end of the training session.
True.
But far, if it would have gone through, man, I would have lost my mind.
Well, he did have a good game, 27 touches, 9 clearances, and pivotal late. Got into a couple of good positions late in the game and held up some time and hit a composed target. How did you see his game, but how did you see how the whole game panned out? Because you started well, first 3 quarters was, back to Collingwood's, footy.
Yeah.
As Fly said post-game, and then, the last quarter, it was just holding on for dear life.
Also, I think they started winning the center clearances in the last quarter, and that kind of put our defense under pressure a bit.
Because Geordie went down, and he was having a hell of a game.
Yeah, so Geordie went down, did his hamstring out of the middle. So then we brought in Paddy Lupinski, who played really well, I thought, and I think we lost a few center clearances, and they were coming out, and whenever you lose territory that quickly, and obviously like them after first goal, second goal, a bit of momentum, it was looking pretty rough there for the fourth quarter. But luckily enough, our defense kind of held up at the very end and was able to stop them enough times. They did have an opportunity, obviously, on the siren, but I think there was probably. It feels like there would have been 10 other entries that could have been, marked and kicked for a goal before that. So, it was a back and forth game. It was kind of everything you ask for in a football game.
Yeah.
Like the back and forth, 2 arch rivals, a big crowd, like, a big momentous occasion of 400 games for a person. And then, to win on his 400th, and like, it just seemed like everything was falling in place for this beautiful kind of moment for him. It was great. And Pendles played really well. I think like, you always talk about those clutch moments and having people that can handle the pressure and stuff like that. Like seemed like he was finding space where there wasn't space and being able to get out of the kind of pressured situation whenever we're in our back half. And you look at the last kind of minute and a half, there's a few little kind of handballs and getting it out to the outside that were quite important for us to be able to, chew a bit of time off the clock.
You, yourself, 2 goals on the night. One, the big double arm wing spread.
Give it to me, baby.
Couldn't even fit it into the Instagram picture.
Jeez, I look like an idiot.
It was good.
It looks all right, but then you got the mouth guard in, you got the booty shorts and the tank top, and you're just like, man, what am I doing?
I feel like watching you, I could see the little Rolodex in your head going through the celebrations. Like, what do I just arms out, just do something.
Just give something.
Just give something. Well, I want to know your second goal. You ran up to Nick Newman, who was manning the mark, and it was like you were going to get him a bit of beef, but he realized you were coming ahead of time and grabbed your jumper, dragged you to the ground, which I thought might have been a free kick.
I don't know the rules, but you would think so.
But it sparked a bit of a melee. Now talk me through that.
Well, here's the thing, right? I don't know if you know, I got fined over the weekend. I understand I was in a melee and not just being in it apparently is enough to get a fine nowadays.
Hey,
even if someone else tries to elbow you in the head, then grabs your jumper and throws you to the ground, you didn't actually touch anyone. Like that's a whole nother conversation. But I'm guilty. Yes. I'm guilty, Brayden.
Yes. But
I feel bad for Lockie Schultz and then Jordan Boyd because they also got fined the same amount as myself. And then Nick Newman, who kind of I would say is probably the main instigator in this whole thing. You could
he dragged you to ground.
Yeah, you could say that would instigate something, right? He kind of gets the same penalty, but because it's his second offense, he gets a little bit more money, right? Yeah. So we're all under the four of us essentially all get fined and have the same reasoning for the fine. But then Schultz and Jordan Boyd, like who were just kind of pulling people off each other, I was like, and Jordan Boyd, I think just like fell into me. Yeah. I was like, I mean, like he's opposition, like don't get me wrong, but like I kind of felt bad. I was like, come on, man, like that's really $12.50 just to like fall into me. Like what?
Schultz was a weird one.
What are we doing?
Because
What's going on?
Schultz went up there and he like started grabbing players it looked like to pull, and then he was gone before the group even dispersed. Yeah. And he got fined. I don't know how they pulled his out randomly. But I did want to bring this up because it is interesting because obviously the fines are in place to de-incentivize people getting in melees.
Yeah.
Because it's a bad look. There's families, there's kids at the ground, and you understand that. You don't want it trickling down to like the lower leagues and the kids and all of that stuff. But why do they promote it on social media and on the AFL website?
Well, that's a great question, Brayden. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? You can't sit there and find players, but then promote it as one of the highlights of the game or something that you want to put on social media.
Yeah.
Like it's either one or the other. You can't, that's where I kind of am a little bit annoyed, I guess, by the situation of saying like, hey, we're going to promote it on social, but also we don't want you to do it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if you don't want us to do it, then you probably don't promote it to socials. And if the reason you don't want us to do it is because you don't want people to see it and you don't want it to be promoted to kids at a younger age, then why are you putting it onto platforms that are dedicated to showing it?
Yeah. Yeah. And kids are going to see it. They have more access to it. They get to watch it over and over and over again.
But I'm guilty. Brayden, I'm not going past this. I am guilty.
It's just weird. I don't get it. And it's not like it's always listed up as some journalistic thing where it's like, terrible incident happened. Avoid doing this. It's like, yeah, Mason.
Tension's boiled over. Here we go. The fans love it. The fans love it, but we don't like it.
It is a bit of fun. costly fun. But yeah, there was a bit of, I thought it was weird, Luke Darcy calling out for fines during the...
Yeah, Luke, don't be calling out for fines. As soon as you say fines, you know what the AFL is going to do? Fine your ass. Yeah. Come on, man. Look after the players. Especially used to be one of them.
Yeah, on the broadcast. I don't mind it when the umpires are saying, boys, there's going to be fines. Because that's normally what they do. They just give you a little bit of warning and then people go, yeah, actually, I want to buy a new TV. I want to buy
$12.50.
I actually got a weekend coming up. So anyway, I did want to bring up Jordan De Goey's injury because out for the rest of the season, which is tragic. He's had... a bit of a bad run this year.
Yeah.
And kind of trying to find a place in there, obviously not at 100%. And did high hamstring, bit of tendon, out for the year. How do you attempt to cover that? Because I imagine you can't really.
Yeah, Jordy obviously is a hell of a player. It's very tough to try to fill his shoes, that's for sure. But, he's like you said, he's been injured for quite a bit of the year. So we've had some different people go through there and, it gives opportunities to other players to play in that kind of midfield role. And, we'd love to have Jordy out there, of course. Like he's, in our best 23. And unfortunately, over the weekend, he had the hamstring injury and we're not going to be able to see him for the rest of the year. But, like I said, it gives opportunities to other people. Hopefully, we can get someone else to step up into that role and, be someone who can break lines and be able to do some special stuff that we know Jordy can do and fit into our game plan like, they have over the last, 15 weeks, I feel like, really. So, Jordy's had I think it's been his groins and a few other things he's had issues with. So, other people have had to be able to play different positions to cover for that. So we'll continue to do that as a team, and hopefully he gets better as soon as possible.
And he's not an old dog. They're always saying all the old dogs are going to start falling off, and it's these young bucks coming through. This one, now the most important one for the podcast. The game ended up in Mitch McGovern's hands as he had a shot after the siren. And I thought the one bloke I didn't want to see the ball in his hands was him. So, or maybe Blake Acres, because he has a way of kicking goals. But yeah, Mitch McGovern's mark. Where were you? And then you ended up manning the mark for the final kick.
Yeah, so I was down line, so I kind of hoping we kick the ball towards the boundary, waste a bit more time, and I kind of look up and I see McGovern kind of just darts and just takes off forward, and I'm going, oh shit. So of course, me knowing that's kind of my guy, I've got to try and sprint and get after him. So I was about 4 or 5 steps behind him, and the ball gets thrown in. I'm thinking, I've got 4 or 5 steps. Like by the time it actually hits hands, like I'll be able to get to him and hopefully be able to man him up. And unfortunately, I think Pitney takes out the ruck and snaps it right away. And I was like, oh shit. And I just see it kind of fall straight into his lap. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like this could have gone anywhere else on the ground. Would have been able to influence, but like that one little kick. And I was like, oh shit. So I stood the mark as you want to, as the biggest guy on the ground, So you definitely want to be the person on the mark. He's about 40 out. So you go, maybe he has to kick 50, 55. And yeah, you kind of like the game's out of your hands, really. Like you can't really do much. And you just sit there. The umpire comes up to you and he goes, nah, only up and down. Don't move anywhere else. And you're like, all right, don't screw that up. Yeah. Like, don't give him 50.
So did you ask about that, or did he just tell you?
They usually tell you if it's in a kind of a moment where there's extra time that might happen. Like it'll kind of make sure that that's the case. Some umpires, some do, some don't. But kind of said that in the moment. He goes, look, you can only jump up and down. I was like, yep, done this before, mate. And he lines up, and being the person on the mark, you're kind of like the first person to see the ball come off the boot, I feel like. So whenever he was kind of coming up, I kind of saw it and it didn't come cleanly off his boot. And I kind of knew from that moment that it was probably not going to go through unless some wind picked up in the MCG and took it about 10 meters left. So it was a scary feeling because it's your man who's kind of like come off you in that moment. And it was a smart play by him, to be honest, to push forward. But it's a bit of a scary moment, but luckily it kind of worked out in our favor and we got the win. Yeah,
there was I think it was Jordan Lewis or someone on the coverage was saying like it was a really high IQ play for Mason Cox to make sure that he got on the mark first, man the mark. Wow. So we won't tell him that it was your man.
My man, yeah. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
But it was, it was amazing. Like I said, I saw him get the ball and I was like, not him. And then, I don't know. Looked like he just tried to kick the shit out of it and it skewed off the boot. And
it's a fair distance. Like,
got lucky in the end.
Not an easy shot.
Especially late in the game. So, there was a little moment where Patrick Cripps was doing a fist pump before he kicked it, which was very interesting because I don't know if he was trying to convince himself that he was going to kick it or if he was that convinced that he was going to kick it. But unfortunately for Cripper and the Carlton team, he didn't kick it. So, yes, very interesting. There was another moment that I'll just say, and I'm going to skip straight past it, but it was 50 seconds left, ball on the wing, and it goes to Jamie. I'm like, game over. He's just going to run it all the way to the forward line, and he just let it go out of bounds. He like half grabbed it, looked up, and dropped it over the line and just jogged off, and I was like, no, that's very important that you got that ball, mate. But it all turned out fine.
Yeah, it turned out fine.
And he's probably got a couple of clutches up his sleeve.
I think, He's
allowed to have the drop. That's fine.
I think you're the first person that's mentioned that to me since the game. So
that hurt my heart, that moment. I was like, what happened? Because I was like, he's away. Anyway, let's jump into the previews. Long podcast.
Yep.
Sydney, Collingwood, SCG. Sydney coming off the massive loss. Collingwood coming off a nail-biting win. Yep. Massive finals implications. Sydney could lose the top spot. Collingwood needs to win every game to be a chance to make the top 8.
Yep.
How are you feeling going into the game? That was a great promo. I'm up and about.
Oh, he's up and about. Up in Sydney. So we're going to fly up to Sydney, SCG at their home stadium, and I'm sure Longmuir is going to give them a little bit of a rocket up their ass.
Sorry,
did I say Longmuir? Longmire, sorry. Is going to give him a bit of a rocket. So it's going to be, it's going to be a tough game. There's no doubt about that. Sydney, top of the ladder for a reason, man. We've said it multiple times. And They seem to play well in these big games where, I think the last time we went up there was, geez, I don't know. I always go back to that prelim. Yeah, I always go back to that prelim. I think we've played them since then, but I go back to that game, and that was
pushing the back.
Unreal game.
On Darcy Moore from Papley.
Back and forth was unreal. But Sydney, we know they're top of the ladder for a reason. They're a good team, and it's going to be a challenge for us to go up there and try to get the win. But hopefully we can do that.
And we talked about it earlier in the pod. If you go up there, get the win against Sydney in Sydney, you get the confidence. Carry you all the way home.
That's it.
You'll love to see it. So we're hoping Collingwood goes up there and gets the W. We got Brisbane v GWS at the Gabba. There's so many big games this year.
GWS trying to hang on to the top 4 spot.
Yeah.
Brisbane trying to continue their little streak they've got going at the moment.
10 in a row.
At the Gabba. Do we call it a fortress still?
Yeah, I think Brisbane win this.
Yeah. I'll go Brisbane winning this game. I know it hurts.
Shocked either way, though.
Nah, I wouldn't be shocked, but I know it's going to hurt you going against your boys, the GWS team. But Brisbane, on a roll, absolutely smashed their opposition this week. So you can't go past them outside.
What about a bit of devil's advocate? You got Jesse Hogan versus Harris Andrews, but then outside of that, their defense kind of falls off. A lot of injuries in the Brisbane defense, a lot of good goal kickers in the GWS.
True.
Interesting.
It's going to come down to their small forwards, I'll say.
Oh, that's a massive call from Mason Cox. You heard it here first on the Mason Cox Show. North Melbourne versus West Coast, Bloodstone Arena.
Is that Tasmania?
Down in Tassie every week. Do they have home games here?
Well, they're trying to get as many games as they can before the Tasmanian team comes in.
North are going to win this too and go back to back.
I reckon they will. Yeah. I mean, if you're West Coast right now, like going to Tasmania and playing there and knowing you're not making finals and, it would just be a grind. An absolute grind. That's grim. I'll go North Melbourne on this one. Double 2 in a row on the trot.
That's fine. You just conserve your energy, West Coast, because then you got Carlton next week at home. So load up on that one. Freo versus Geelong Optus, another massive one.
This is almost the game of the week, I'd say.
This is Freo. Freo off the back of that disappointing loss. They get a bit of the rev up. They come out here. They beat Geelong, who's not very convincing at the moment either for a team that's inside the top 8.
Let's go Jeremy Cameron over under 5 goals.
Oh. He has these pockets of form, so I'd say unders, but 4 and 26.
4 and 26, casual, just another day. Just now at the park. Another day on the park. Freo. I'm going to go Freo winning at home.
Essendon Gold Coast Marvel Stadium.
Jeez. This is just interesting. Gold Coast really probably out of the 8 now and realizing that truly.
Yeah, do you have a real drop when you know you're done?
Some teams do.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see. Like, this is the thing. Gold Coast is always like, you get to like 3/4 of the way through and you're like, oh, there's a chance. There's a chance at making the top 8. And then they just don't get over the line, right? Essendon obviously needing a win to keep the finals hopes alive. Man, at Marvel, Cheeky B wants to go Gold Coast.
I actually
wants to. I mean, I don't think it'll happen, but I'm all for big comments and big statements, man. Put it in, cock-lock that thing. Gold Coast Suns beating Essendon at Marvel.
Jeez, that's wild.
Man, you were beaten down on Essendon for no reason. I've joined the squad.
I'll go Essendon, even though I've talked shit about them all podcast. Melbourne v Port.
Yeah.
I reckon Melbourne, do they put the Q in the rack? I wonder if they rest Gawn or something like that, knowing. They've still got a cheeky win in them, I reckon. But I'm going to go Port at the G because if they can do this, then they can kind of do anything.
I think it'd be a good experience for Port to be playing the MCG as much as they can toward the back end of the year.
Good call.
They obviously playing Adelaide, a lot skinnier oval and everything else. So as much opportunity for them to play at that ground, knowing that if they make it all the way, they'll have to play there eventually in the finals. It's a good opportunity for them to get a win and feel confident on that ground.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good call. Carlton Hawthorn, this is a massive game. Carlton needs to win 2 on the run home to make finals.
Yeah.
And they've got some
2 or 3.
Yeah, they got some pretty easier games. They got West Coast, then they got Saints. So they can lose this and still make it, but you don't want to be flirting with that form. I think I've got pretty much every cocklock.
You do not sound confident whatsoever.
I think I've got every cocklock right for the year. Like I'm on fire.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, because your GWS was going real good in the beginning.
So I'm going to say Hawthorn's going to win this game at the G. Just because I'm like, I just want it to happen.
We're just pissing off the biggest fan bases as
I just
much
want
as
it to
possible this week.
happen because it's just another crazy layer for the ladder. I just want the ladder to be as close as possible, top to bottom, going into the last round.
Yeah, and just like every game being so important.
Yeah.
That would be insane. Yeah, I'm gonna go Hawthorn too. I know that's a big statement. They're gonna have to. Yeah. Man.
Well, they're gonna have to win it if they're gonna make finals. So.
Yeah, I think Hawthorn just gotta get that swag, baby.
That loss on the weekend really hurt them against GWS. Richmond, St Kilda at Marvel. I'm going Saints in this one. I feel like Richmond knows they need to simmer off for the rest of the year.
St Kilda, essentially not a home game for St Kilda, but pretty much on their home deck. I'm going to go St Kilda to get the dub.
Still a super frustrating year for St Kilda fans because they were nowhere and now they're coming home with
they made finals last year.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Can you think it's crazy to say that because it doesn't seem like it was. It seems like it was ages ago, but they actually made the top 8 last year. With a wet
sail and for what? They're going to finish like 12th or 13th or whatever it is. Like that's just so frustrating for their fans. Anyway, I'm going to go Saints in that one. And then Adelaide v Brisbane in Adelaide.
Versus Brisbane, Western Bulldogs.
Adelaide versus Western Bulldogs. The Bulldogs have been beating everyone, but Adelaide have been
at Adelaide too.
More than happy to screw over teams on the way home, and they play an exciting brand of footy. And when they get the right matchups, they can beat anyone. So, this is a real hard one too. I'm going to go Bulldogs just because they're in just exceptional form at the moment.
I'm going to go Adelaide in a nail biter.
Yeah, nice one.
I just like being the upset city.
I can see that though.
Stuff it.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for the pod.
That is it from the pod. Thanks everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Hopefully, the games over the weekend, unreal. So many close ones. Exciting for all fans involved. Hopefully your team won over the weekend.
If anyone out there is doing the ladder predictor, they don't like. Good luck. Each game is just like, I thought Sydney was going to beat North or whatever, and then you're like
a hell of a lot of money. Betting companies right now. Yeah. It's like every team is like, that's easy. They'll lock that in. $1. It's like, shit.
Everyone feel for the betting companies. They're doing it rough.
Hold on.
It's a tough economy.
It is a tough economy, and we are looking for a sponsor. So please let us know. But no, seriously, thank you so much for listening into the podcast. As always, follow us on socials. Give a like and subscribe to everything that we have. And a massive, massive thank you for being a part of the community. Anything you want to say on the way out?
That's it.
That's it. Have an incredible week ahead, and hopefully your team gets up over the weekend. Enjoy the week. See ya.
Unless you're Carlton.
Whoa.